Truck Talk Media.
C10 Talk, episode 321. We've got Andy from Classic Truck Products coming at you. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas. Here we go.
I pulled my phone out of my pocket and I saw an advert from a company making OBS Ford parts. And they look like complete shit. And I was like, all right, well, they look like shit, but they sell good, and I know I could do them better. So maybe I'll just start doing some of these. So I started doing those. That took off like wildfire almost overnight. And I started doing those. I just kind of slowly got into the Chevy side as that evolved. You know, that did good for a little bit, but I was just looking around at some of the other stuff out there, and I was like, man, you know, I know I can do what's out there but better. So that just kind of slowly bled into the Chevy side, and once I got involved with that, man, it was crazy how fast.
Damn, son. USA1Industries.com, your square body source. Use them for my SEMA build. I've been pimping out their dashes for so long, 10 plus years. And people would always ask me, where's the best dash pad? USA1 Industries, USA1 Industries, without a doubt. So the team over there has been so supportive to me, my build. I get on their website, their process, it's easy, it flows. I can know what parts, and sometimes, honestly, I'm not even sure what parts I need, but when I go through the website, it kind of cues my mind, and I'm like, oh yeah, I should buy that. Oh yeah, I need that. It was extremely helpful. I got 2 large shipments when I was doing the Big Sky Bonanza build, and it saved me. It really did, to know, oh yeah, I'm glad that I ordered that. So when you're going through a big build, think USA1 Industries. Great support, fast shipping. Everything came just as I needed it to. And honestly, their packaging and their labeling was great. So I would be going through packages and I'd be like, oh yeah, this is this grommet. Oh yeah, this is this hardware. So support those guys, USA1Industries.com. They are the title sponsor of C10 Talk, and we appreciate all their support. Check them out, guys. 73 to 91, you need it. They got it. They ain't got it. You don't need it.
Let me tell you what Melba Toast is packing right here. I've got 411 posi track out back, 750 double pumper, Edelbrock intakes, scored over 30, 11-1 pop-up pistons, turbojet, 390 horsepower. We're talking some bucking muscle.
What does that do? Does that blow your mind? That just happened.
Welcome to C10 Talk, your C10 truck podcast.
And now I have a chance to be the best, maybe the best in the world.
My old man, he's a television repairman, got the ultimate set of tools. I can fix it.
I said I got 50 cents in that jukebox, and all I can hear is your mouth clapping. You hear that?
Here's your host, Ronnie Welch.
All right. What up, C10 Nation? 321, we've got Andy from Classic Truck Products. Guy's kicking ass, really, and love the story. So I think you guys will love it as well. Hopefully you guys are either out shopping or have got it all wrapped up and you're avoiding the traffic. I know here in Chandler area, Phoenix, where I'm at, it is crazy. Worked yesterday. If you don't know, I'm a firefighter, and 3, 4, 5 accidents. Just crazy. So be safe out there. Hope you guys enjoy the pod, and probably slip one more in before the end of the year. We'll see. I've got a few guests lined up. A few announcements really quick. ReunionTruckShow.com. The Reunion is the March show out here in Arizona. We're moving it to Mesa, Arizona. So the first 4 years we're in Chandler, and we're moving it up to Mesa. ReunionTruckShow.com. We do have our hotels linked. So our host hotel is going to be the Sheraton, which is right next to the current or the new location. And then we will have live registration January 1st at 1 p.m. Arizona time. So that's going to be 1/1/26 at 1 p.m. So 1/1/2026 at 1 p.m. Make it easy on you guys. ReunionTruckShow.com. We are allowing some cars in this year, so if you got a classic car, hit us up and we'll get you situated. 92 and older for Chevs, 93 because of Fox bodies, but pretty much air-cooled Volkswagen, air-cooled Porsche, and classic cars, something that you'd want to see at a truck and or car show. So that's the reunion. We're looking forward to seeing everybody. March 28th is the show event. So the pre-party will be on the 27th, Friday night, and the show itself will be in Mesa, new location, March 28th. Another announcement is that Andy, who is our guest with Classic Truck Products, said, hey, let's give everybody 10%. So if you use code C10TALK at checkout on Andy's website, you will get 10% off just by listening. I got no skin on that. Just want to pass that forward to you guys. So help Andy out and helps you guys out a little bit. That will run through January 31st. Use the code C10TALK at checkout. Check out Andy and see if he's got something that you need and or want for your truck and your build. Our title sponsor, USA One Industries, also is having a sale, 10% off, and you just have to use the code Square Santa. Square Santa, so that's USA One Industries, which is primarily 73 to 87 pretty much, or 73 to 91, however you want to look at it. USA1Industries.com. Use the code Square Santa and get 10% off, and that is good up until the 2nd of January. So I know that's a little confusing because I just told you on 1/1 of 26 we're doing the registration. So you've got till 1/2, so this is essentially about a 2-week sale. So Square Santa could save 10% there. What else do I have for you here? There might be a little bit of noise on this. I'm trying to switch over to a new laptop and a new recording system. So the format that I normally use, changing that up, and new laptop and so on and so forth. But this recorded on my old laptop, which is getting its ass kicked. And so you might hear the fan in the background. I tried to clean it up a little bit. Apologize for that if you can. It's not that bad, but I just want to let you know. So we've got a brand new laptop we're getting ready to roll out, new recording setup, and I think it'll be a little bit better. All right. So what else do we got? I think that's enough to get you guys going there and keep you going. So Andy's discount takes you through January. USA One gets you like the second day in January. And then don't forget, you're going to register for the reunion if you're local or if you want to come out. I know we usually have about 9 or 10 states that are pretty well represented, and we have a blast. So we're going to bump it up a little bit this year. I think we can get 1,000 cars, trucks together, and look forward to it. Reunion 2026 coming at you. Episode 321. You guys have a great holiday. Merry Christmas. I think I'll be back before New Year's. If not, have a great New Year's. Again, I think I'll be back, but we'll see. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for everything. You know what to do. Stay out of trouble. And if you need to get a hold of me, Ronnie at trucktalkmedia.com. RONNIE at trucktalkmedia.com. Late. All right. See, Nation. We've got Andy Suciu. You say it.
Suciu.
Dr. Suciu. I love that. That's a rad name. What's the breakdown? What's the breakdown shakedown on that? Where's that come from?
It's from Romania originally.
Okay, cool. So have you tracked it all back and when you came over, or do you know, like, first, your family came over at what level? Parents, grandparents?
No, at my level. I was born and raised there for the first half of my life, and then I came here later on.
Wow, at my level. So you are an immigrant and you came over from Romania.
Yes, me, my sister, my mother, and my father.
How rad is that? So how old were you when you came to the States?
9.5.
All right. And then, so that's got to be hard, man. 9, 10, you're like, got your friends and you're coming to the States. And then did you guys come directly to Cali?
Yes, landed in San Francisco and came straight to El Dorado County, and I still live here to this day.
Now, was it your dad just getting the hell out of Romania, job? What was the kind of the backstory on that?
In December, almost to this day, I think it was 1 or 2 days apart, there was a revolution. The communist dictator had been overthrown. The country was in great ruins, and my father was in the military. And at the time, they were persecuting anybody that they thought might have had something to do with the revolution. My father was part of that, so he knew some people that got him over here. And then once he had come here, he had worked on getting us here. So, yeah, he came here in the 90s, and then we followed about 10 years later in '02 or '03, somewhere in there.
American dream.
Yep.
Do you go back and visit family?
I haven't. I think this year I might. I'm going to try to make a point to go every year because my grandparents are getting older, and I'm going to make a point to go there every year.
Yeah, I mean, that'd be cool. Do they come out?
The grandparents on my mother's side have both passed away. I couldn't go see them. The grandparents on my father's side, they've came here once for my uncle's wedding about 10 years ago, somewhere in there. But no, they don't. They're just old. They're very old. And they can't travel. It's not that easy for them to travel.
Yeah, I bet. I mean, we take it for granted, you got family, and I go see my grandparents. Now they've both passed on both sides, but yeah, you think, yeah, I'm just going to go see grandma and grandpa. And for you, having that, that distance, and obviously there's some stress there. What would you say, looking back as a young, lad from Romania, a young Romanian man, a boy, when you look back, what was one of the biggest challenges you had at, growing up in the States?
Here,
Yeah.
getting used to how easy everything is.
Wow.
Yeah, it still is to this day.
Just school, technology, food, life.
Everything. Everything's easy. It's almost too easy. I can't believe it sometimes. I mean, it's just like, good Lord.
Well, we won't get into political too much.
No.
There's a very, I mean, it's becoming one of my new favorite sayings is tough times make tough men make good times, and and then good times make weak men. And I feel like we are in that stage of, I kind of hope we are, because if we're not and it's going to get worse, that's some crazy shit. But yeah. So I don't know if you've ever heard that, but tough times make tough men make good times make weak men. And I think as a society, we are extremely weak right now. I don't know what your perspective is on that, but somebody who came from another country and sees how good we have it, and then just constantly bitch about how bad it is, and you're like, are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah. No, I'd love to go deeper into that, but I think we need a whole separate podcast just for that topic, and we could probably spend days talking about that.
Yeah, they would call it Ronnie Rogan if we went too deep on that. It wouldn't be what we're here for. So for the audience, Andy is Classic Truck Products, and came on the scene. Your social media, I don't know if I would even say quite 2 years ago. I'm going to say 18 months ago. Boom, I'm seeing some products, and for me, throwing it back, it was probably core support cover, something like that. And I remember I'd hit you up and I'm like, dude, I need a core support cover for Orange Slice 1976. And you're like, get out of here. That one's too hard. Quit. He didn't. I'm joking. But he's like, yeah, I don't do that one. And I'm like, well, you should. And so you cut your teeth. Go back. How did this whole thing start? I mean, how did you get into metal shaping, metal fab, and doing what you do?
Let's see. I'd always had a great interest in it. I always liked cars. I'd always just been attracted to cars. One thing I did when, back in the old country, I was alone a lot. My mother worked. My dad wasn't around, so me and my friends would always play around cars. I'd always had a great attraction to them. And then when I came here to the States, I think probably within the first few months, we had gone to a festival where they were giving out raffle tickets. And I had managed to get a raffle ticket where I had won a television, which was big. So I brought home the television, stuck a fork in the back of it, and one of the channels we got was, at the time, they were airing a show on the Discovery Channel called Motorcycle Mania. And there's this guy hammering metal, and I just knew that's what I was going to do someday. Fast forward 25 years, here we are. So it all started with a raffle ticket and a fork in the back of the TV, and here we are.
So you grow up here, you go to school, you're still attracted to cars. Did you have, what kind of cars, or when you came to the States, what was a car that just, gave you just a stiffy, what was there, a car, a truck? What was your fastball? What were you loving?
I remember driving down the road, a Green Valley Road, which is not too far from the shop. Matter of fact, I take that on my way home, and I remember a red 32 Ford with no hood driving down the road. Had a lake pipe headers, a red car, open fenders, white roof, and I was just instantly hooked on that. And around the same time, there happened to be another TV show called, I think it was American Hot Rod with Boyd Coddington. And I'd spend a lot of time watching that when I'd get a chance. That's kind of initially what got me into it, was the early Fords.
So that show, American Hot Rod, it couldn't have come on at a better time in my life as well. I mean, it was one of those things where you sat around, you saw, what Boyd and Dwayne and the crew and what they were doing. There was another show that was kind of a comedy show that was just after that. I think it was called Titus, and it was the comedian, and he was a big car guy. Obviously, we had Stacey David and we had trucks. And I just think that we don't realize it, but those shows kind of helped mold, for me, it was the Dukes of Hazzard. It was Smokey and the Bandit, the A-Team, Magnum, and we just had cars and cool guys. And then we evolved into these. For us, it was Spike TV, and it was like Spike TV. We're gonna watch Stacey David, and so yeah, it's amazing to think back on how many kids were affected like you as well.
Yeah, and another cool one on Spike TV, I remember vividly when I was a kid that set something off in me was, I remember, I don't recall the name of the show, but there was a scene in there where they were building a Chevelle for, what's that guy from the UFC, the guy that owns it, Dana White. And I remember Dana White had come to see his Chevelle with a bunch of UFC fighters, and here's these muscular jack guys standing next to a black Chevelle. It's like, game over. What else are you going to do from there?
Yeah, it's pretty rad. I forget what it was called. I should know this. Maybe you remember, but the Jesse James had that one where he was kind of the host, and they would pit two teams together, and they would have to fab up some stuff and come up with a project. And these guys would just, their brains and what they would do and make and fabricate was awesome.
Yeah, it was a Monster Garage.
That's it. Yeah, Monster Garage. I'm sure you like that one as well.
I did. Yeah, I watched it when I was a kid. That's when I was elementary school.
So how does a kid who's attracted to cars, an immigrant, how do you go from high school? Did you get some tech? Did you enroll in classes? Are you an on-the-job training type guy? How do you go to full shop owner making rad shit?
Well, that's kind of a long story, but I'll give you the nuts and bolts version of it. So out of high school, I didn't have any direction or money or anything like that. So what had ended up happening was I came across a recruiter, and he had convinced me to join the military, which seemed a good idea to me at the time. And it was. I don't regret any of that. So I joined the military. I'm trying to get some kind of direction in my life, trying to do something. About 2 years later, I end up in Afghanistan. And when you go in Afghanistan, they have these things called bazaars. It's like bazaar, but with two A's. And basically what that means in Arabic, it's like a flea market. And one of the things those Arabs like to sell at the flea markets was bootleg DVDs. So I had ended up seeing like a copy that had some motorcycle stuff on there. And it all ties back into what we were talking about earlier. I saw another episode of Motorcycle Mania 3 to where Jesse James was working with a guy named Fate Butler, who happened to live in Massachusetts. And in the movie, he had traveled to Massachusetts to learn to build a motorcycle gas tank with him. And the guy happened to be like 4 hours away from the military base back home in upstate New York. So when I got back, they told me, well, you got like 4 days off. I had no idea what to do with my 4 days, so I just happened off the cuff, called this guy Fate Butler. I knew I had like 3 months left, and I knew I wasn't going to stay in. So I was like, well, I need something to do after this. And I remember seeing this DVD, and I just thought, what if I just Google this guy, give him a call, and just see what comes of it? So I gave him a call, told him what I had going on, and he said, yeah, if you want to come spend your 4 days with me, come over, we'll see where it goes. So that's how I got involved with that.
I mean, how surreal to think that this guy who you just saw, while you were in Afghanistan on a bootleg DVD is now your mentor.
Yeah, yeah.
So did you work, did you get out and go to work for him for 4 days? Did you kind of on your time off, on your leave, go up there and hang out and then go back, or how did that work out?
No, so what had happened was I didn't necessarily have, I don't know, maybe serious intentions, I would say. I just wanted to see what it was all about and what would come of it. My friend had bought a motorcycle while I was deployed, and my idea was that while there's still some nice time out in upstate New York, I'd build a motorcycle and ride with him. And all the gas tanks I found were ugly, so all I wanted to do was make a gas tank for my own bike that wasn't ugly, and then just ride with my friend. So I went up there to see him, but at the end of the 4 days, to go back to high school, I was never popular in high school. I was never the cool kid or anything like that, but I was always extremely perspicacious. I was always paying attention. I would notice patterns.
I've never heard of that word. Do that one again. Perspicacious?
Perspicacious. It's being perceptive. It's paying attention to the world around you, noticing things.
Dude, that's a rad word. I'm gonna have to learn how to say that. One more time. Give it to me.
Perspicacious.
Perspicacious.
Yes.
Damn, I like that. I think I need a truck that's named Perspicacious. That's freaking awesome.
Yep.
All right, I think I'm pretty perspicacious. I kind of like what's going on. So okay, sorry to interrupt, but I like the verbiage. Perspicacious.
Yes.
All right, go with it. So you're looking at your surroundings, you're listening, you're figuring it out.
Yeah. Well, while I was in high school, I noticed that all the cool kids, the one thing that they all had in common was they all had something they were good at, and it was mainly sports. Like it was either the good baseball player or like the good quarterback or the good something that all the girls wanted to get with. So I thought, well, if I get good at something, maybe someday. So I was like, well, shit, I need something to be good at, and while you're good at it, why not just be the best too? That's a nice cherry on top. So, fast forward a few years later, here I am seeing this man, just trying to build a gas tank for my own bike. 4 days over, I go home, and as I'm leaving, he says, well, what are you going to do now? So I said, well, I'm just going back and I'm just going to figure it out and just see where, life takes me type of deal. So he says to me, don't you understand what you're doing? And I said, pardon? He said, don't you understand that if you stick with this and you stay with this and you listen to me and you do as I say, you have the potential to be the best in the world. And it triggered something, I was like, finally something I could be good at. It's kind of what I wanted all along.
Okay. So it's just, to me, it's crazy to think like you on a whim go up there 4 days, you work with this guy, and now he's telling you, hey, you got some skill here. Appreciate you coming up and putting in the time. You go back to finish up 3-4 months in the military, and then where do you go from there?
I'd moved after that. While I was in the military, I was starting to, I had a bunch of money saved over from deployment. So I was buying up a bunch of equipment that I could find. So I'd spent pretty much my last dime on equipment, and the time I had, I would just travel the country, finding old equipment, pulling it out of barns. So after I finished up, I'd moved back home to California where I had a good friend of mine who happened to be going through a divorce and had a big barn out back of his house. Brandon Stevens is his name. Still a good friend to this day. And basically...
Shout out to Brandon. Thank you for helping Andy out.
Yeah, shout out to Brandon. He lives in Florida now, and he owns a scuba diving academy, Hernando Beach Scuba Diving. So if you're in Florida and you want to do some scuba diving, hit up my friend Brandon.
Where at? What beach?
Hernando Beach in Florida.
You did say that. Okay, where's Hernando Beach? Like all the way in the Keys or something?
It's kind of like midway on the Gulf side.
All right. So they call that the West Side, right?
I think so.
They actually call it the West Coast. I was talking to a guy and he told me the West Coast one time, And I was like, what do you mean the West Coast? Like Cali? And he goes, no, when you say West Coast in Florida, that means you're on the west side. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm not Floridian, and I didn't understand that. So, Brandon, thanks for helping out. Thanks for helping out Andy. Sorry about your divorce. Okay, there we go. So we got a shop. We got a bunch of equipment. You got no money, and you're a young man just out of the military.
That's right. That's right.
And then what? You just started freaking, mending metal and making shit happen?
Yeah, so what I started doing was started buying sheet metal and started making gas tanks, motorcycle gas tanks. And I would list them on eBay. And people would call me from those ads wanting for me to make them custom tanks. And at the time I was selling for like, I don't know, $150 a pop. I think my first gas tank I ever made, I spent a week and I sold it for $150 on eBay. But I got, it set off a chain of events to where people would just call me wanting motorcycle gas tanks. And at the time, there was another TV show called The Biker Build-Off, which was still popular. So that led to those guys finding out about me, and one of them would call and then their buddies would call, and it was just a bunch of guys building bikes to show off, and they all wanted gas tanks and fenders, so they would call me and I'd make it for them.
Yeah, I mean, bikes were really popular. American Chopper, right? The Paul Sr. and Paul Jr. And I mean, that was another great show that we all had the, just lucky, I guess, discovery or whatever. And that I would say one of the most popular shows was the American Choppers.
For its time, yeah. And I was very fortunate. I came in like right at the tail end of that. And I feel like such a fortunate individual because I'm one of the last few people, I think, that experienced the world with no internet, to where like if you wanted friends or a girlfriend, you had to go talk to somebody. And then even when I got involved in business, Instagram really wasn't what it is today, and it had just come on, and YouTube was like fail compilation videos and stuff like that. So you had to like get creative and make do with what you had and just use the tools that you had at your disposal,
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, and you got that experience and that hustle, and so you got this shop in the back of Brandon's place. You got it full of equipment. You saved up this money. You're making gas tanks. How did that fail essentially as that popularity of those custom bikes? And let me just, I hate the word fail. So did that change and then you evolved?
Pretty much, yeah. I came in right at the tail end of that. So I caught maybe like 1-2 good years of the bike scene, and then, just gradually started to be less and less. And that was a rough crowd to deal with. Bikers are not exactly easy customers. Let's just put it that way. So I wasn't, I didn't want to stay in it anyways. So.
Well, I wonder about that. I wonder if back then, I feel like those bikers there was a lot of bougie bikers and guys. Like I have a couple friends that bought these high dollar bikes. Some of them are still absolutely stuck with them. And you think about the Great Recession, the '08 crash, and you think about that. These guys were spending six figures on bikes back then that probably had no business spending that kind of money. And yeah, I could see them being a little picky and a pain in the ass.
Yeah. No, for sure.
How do you end up going, let's call it '08, 9, 10? How do you get to classic trucks and doing what you do? And then what else do you do? Because you do a lot of shit. I mean, you guys you're constantly evolving and you're putting out some killer stuff for the C10 Nation. You really are. I mean, for the audience, there's a reason why Andy's on the pod. I mean, he's the hustle behind the muscle and the muscle behind the hustle. And they're making a lot of really cool products for you guys out there to give your truck that little zing, that thing that you might want.
Yeah, I'm trying, man. I'm trying. My mind never shuts off with work and coming up with new products and stuff. So I really do try to give the customers all I can for their money. That's for sure.
So, how does that evolve? How do you get into trucks? Were you a truck guy? Were you a car guy? And then you just said, hey, these C10 guys, whether it's 60 to all the way up to 91 or, now the OBS guys, how does this evolve for you to make the products that you make today? And we'll get into what you're doing.
So you bought a C10 and it either had AC at one time or it wasn't even an option. Well, Vintage Air has the solution for you. Their SureFit kits are designed to place the evaporator and hoses behind the dash for a factory clean look. The Vintage Air SureFit kits are the best value and the most completely engineered air conditioning system you can install in your C10. Damn, son, the choice is obvious. VintageAir.com.
Have you guys heard of Doja Mat? Retro mats done right. You know those classic floor mats we all grew up with? Well, Doja Mat has created that same classic style with all of your favorite slogans. Check them out at dojamat.com. That's DOJAMAT.com. Dojamat.com. Retro mats done right. So, how does that evolve? How do you get into trucks? Were you a truck guy? Were you a car guy? And then you just said, hey, these C10 guys, whether it's 60 to all the way up to 91 or, now the OBS guys, how does this evolve for you to make the products that you make today? And we'll get into what you're doing.
Well, that's a long story. So it's nowhere near over from there. Well, this entire time, I've always had Chevy trucks. I've always liked Chevy trucks. And matter of fact, right out of high school, I had a job, kind of like a summer job pouring concrete. And all the money I made there, I used to buy my friend's 98 OBS, which was my first truck, was a 98 OBS Chevy. And this was back in like, 08, 09. So they weren't classics back then. It was just a Chevy truck. But I'd always had Chevy trucks, the 98, I had a 64. So this entire time, I've always had them. I've always owned them. I've driven them, but I never really saw business potential in it. But what had happened was while I was at Brandon's, I was doing work for a local speed shop, which I didn't know how this stuff operated back then, but it was like a big chain speed shop that had franchise, but I didn't understand that it was like individually owned and the guy was just franchising. So I thought it was like I was dealing with the actual company itself. But what it ended up happening was I did some work for them. The guy owed me money, never paid. So I went up to pay him a visit and he didn't have it. So I said, here's what I'm going to do. I was looking around the shop and I saw some cool Model A parts. I said, you're not going to pay me. I'm probably never going to see that money. I said, but here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take some parts out of this shop and I'm going to take them home with me. I'm going to see if I could replicate them and I'm trying to sell them and get my money out of the parts that way. So I had taken some parts home, some Model A parts, made them, which led to me getting in touch with one of the big retailers, and I can't say their name, but I ended up doing work for one of the big part suppliers for like 12 years after that. So that's how I got involved in the car side. And then meanwhile, I'm doing work for them, production work. They're selling parts, but they're putting their name on it. So people don't know it's coming out of my shop. They think it's like, oh, this shop's part that they're selling, not realizing that somebody else is doing all the work. So at the time, I'm still doing coach building. Like people would build these, fancy elaborate cars. They needed panels. They would bring the cars to me. I'm doing that. And there's this big time shop that had convinced me to go work for them, where I did. That ended up failing. And I basically ended up on the streets again with nothing, just me and like a bunch of equipment. So after that failed, I found myself out on the East Coast in Tennessee and looking around, looking for something to do. I found a shop making plane parts. So I said, well, I'm going to go back there and work at the plane factory for a while. So I ended up working at the plane factory, and on my way home from work one day, I happened to stop at the gym. And this entire time, my life's in the dumps, again, because I had built this business. I was at the height of my career at the time. And then here I am a few months later, just like dead, having to start from scratch all over again. So my life's in the dumps. I stop at the gym on my way home and I pull my phone out of my pocket. And this whole time I'm thinking, man, I got to get back on track somehow. I got to get back on track. So I was thinking to myself at the time, I'm getting paid shit money here, but I'm learning a lot. So maybe not quit this job because I'm learning a lot, but if I could just do something on the side to make some extra money, in case my car breaks down, I'll have money to fix it. Maybe that will be okay. So I pulled my phone out of my pocket and I saw an advert from a company making OBS Ford parts. And they look like complete shit. And I was like, all right, well, they look like shit, but they sell good, and I know I could do them better. So maybe I'll just start doing some of these. So I started doing those. That took off like wildfire almost overnight. And I started doing those. And then I just kind of slowly got into the Chevy side as that evolved. That did good for a little bit, but I was just looking around at some of the other stuff out there, and I was like, man, I know I can do what's out there but better. So that just kind of slowly bled into the Chevy side, and once I got involved with that, man, it was crazy how fast it just blew up.
So again, I think I found, however, my algorithm, boom, is it 18 to 24 months? How long have you been really working on the Chevy stuff from that perspective? The older you get, you can't really put a time frame on it. And when I started following you, and when I was like, oh, this guy's building some rad stuff. So about when do you think you started on the C10 Chevy stuff?
My birthday, July 28th, 2023.
Okay, so yeah, we're happy birthday, July. So yeah, 2.5 years ago, you come across, and I'm like, okay, this guy's putting some stuff out, and started following you, and yeah, so it's cool how we see that evolution. How do you decide what to do and what to make?
A lot of times it comes from one of three places. It's either something I want, or it's something a customer wants, or it's something I see that reminds me of another part I made back in the day. And I go, like the way we made that part, that old Ford part back in the day, and what these guys are trying to do with these parts, if I could mix those two together, you'd have a killer product, And that's a lot of how this comes to be is I see what people are doing and kind of what's out there, and I'm like, like if you just mix that with that other part, you'd have a winner right there.
So I like the intuition on that, on your, you're looking at it, your perpetuity or whatever the hell that word was. You're listening, you're looking at it, you're figuring out there's a demand there. Do you do like 10 parts and then say, let me see how these 10 do? And I always feel like that's the challenge, right? You're like, I want to make a rad part. I know I can make a rad part, but I got to let the people know that I'm going to make the rad part, or that I have the rad part, and then I got to sell the rad part to keep making rad parts.
Yeah. It starts off with like one or two, just gauging the interest out there, and then I'll make a little bit bigger batch, and then once once I decide something's got to go into production, then it just evolves from there. But that's a very hard thing to decide, because there's been a lot of times I thought something was going to be good, and the people tell you otherwise, and they're the final deciders when it comes to that kind of deal. So at the end of the day, I could think something's cool all day long till I'm blue in the face, but if the people don't like it, they don't like it. And
yeah, what give us a flop. I want to hear it. I love it. I love your honesty. Like something that you thought, man, the people are gonna love this, and you're like, what in the hell is going on? What are you guys not seeing what I'm seeing?
yeah, shit. I mean, there's so many of them.
So many flops.
Yeah, there's more flops than good. Yeah, you got to go through a bunch of those before you get to the good ones.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. How about on the OBS Ford stuff? I think those trucks are obviously, it's probably one of the best Fords I love those trucks. I think they're rad. They make some really cool trucks. What about in that genre? Did you have, I guess it doesn't really matter OBS Fords, it doesn't matter Chevy trucks, but you've had flops. And then have you ever had a flop that you just had to tweak a little bit and change around?
Not that I can think of. Usually when it flops, it flops. There's no rescuing that pig. You just gotta let it go, man. Just let it go. Just cut your losses and move on to the next one, man. That's why, I think they say like a strong body is a strong mind, and it goes back to like the earlier days of the toughness and like tough times, dude. You need a tough mind because you got to be able to deal with that type of stuff. It's not easy to like let it go, but you just need to let it go sometimes.
Yeah. What about your successes? What are you? Give us an example of something that just blown your mind. Like you're like, yeah, I'll throw this together, and then you're like, holy shit, I cannot keep these on the shelf.
I think those core support panels are a pretty good example of that, because I don't know, to me those are like easy. They might not be to most people, and it's a simple part. And that's the thing, it's like the simplest parts sometimes just were like the greatest ones.
Yeah.
Same with like Model A, when I was doing Model A Ford parts, it's like, man, just the simplest stuff ended up being some of the best ones.
Do you have anything that you've really wanted to make, to craft, to create that you haven't gotten there yet?
Always, always. Yeah, dude, to me, it feels like I'm still starting out. To me, it's like I'm still like a junior fabricator. I just feel like I'm starting out still. And technology is always evolving so much with this stuff. There's like stuff that we can do now that even 2 years ago, I just would have never been able to do. Like the 3D printing and all that, and laser welding now and stuff like that. That wasn't even available a few years ago.
So do you, when you get a truck and you have a product that you're going to put out, do you find somebody? Do you buy a truck? Do you find somebody who has a truck? What do you do to really shake that thing down and create panels or create products?
That's my own trucks. And I found out that it kind of has to be, because I feel bad about asking people to borrow their trucks and cut it up. It's like, hey, can I borrow your truck? By the way, I might end up cutting the firewall on it, and there's a good chance that this product might fail. I can't ask somebody to lend me their truck to cut it up.
So you buy some trucks and then, or you buy a truck and then you work your magic on the.
Yeah, it's like I'll buy it, and it's like, this might work, this might not, but either way, we'll find out. And usually when I buy it, it's something that I like, that it's like, okay, if we try this and it fails, I don't mind keeping this thing anyways, because I liked it when I bought it. I like it now. If this thing flops, well, I still have the truck and I still like it. So
How do you walk us back? So you're in Tennessee, you're working at some plane place, making some products. How does the guy end up back in Cali? And again, you're back to making classic truck parts. So that you started in Cali, you were at Brandon's. Brandon goes to Florida. You end up in Tennessee, and now you're back in Diamond Springs.
yes, yeah, full circle.
Did you always knew you'd come back to Cali, or just, hey, when you're down, you weren't feeling it in Tennessee? Because I think Tennessee's kind of a hotbed for truck parts. And where do you ship all your products? Do you ship them all over? And do you kind of take note of, wow, we ship a lot of products to Illinois, Tennessee, Arizona, Texas, Cali? I mean, I assume it's all over, but you kind of look at that matrix.
Yeah, they go all over the country, but by far, like Arizona, Texas, California, those are like the three hot ones by far. There's not even competition from the other states.
Yeah, I mean, Cali, Arizona, Texas, I mean, it's been that way. We've got amazing trucks and truck builders and people doing what they're doing. Walk us through some of your products, sell us on it. So we've got the audience, and I saw recently you just did some fuel filler panels that you had. Obviously, you have your core support stuff that you do, firewall stuff that you do, blower motor stuff. You really have a large array and assortment of products.
Yeah. Well, those are simple, like the fuel cap fillers. Those are the way I came up with that was just when we were doing production runs, there was like leftovers of the sheet. And instead of just throwing the sheet out, I was like, we can just cut these circles and we could just sell them, to customers as patch panels instead of throwing the sheet out. So it works great because they get a discounted patch panel and we don't have to throw the sheet out. So it works great for both parties. But as far as new products go, one of the things I've been working on for the past year is, that old saying, I'm back on my bullshit. Well, I'm back at it again. I'm out traveling the country, yanking out old machines out of barns. And I've been putting together a system for the past year to make wheel tubs for these trucks because it's kind of like a natural progression. You're in the engine bay, you're doing front core support covers. As you start moving back, we already have firewall panels, but the next thing to fill that gap is wheel tubs. And there's a handful of guys out there doing them, but I really wanted to do something different, something that hasn't been done before. So I thought instead of doing them the traditional way, something cool would be to do them like an old coach built way, like on a power hammer, the way they would have shaped them back in the day with the smooth radius and some nice deeper beads with wire edges and stuff like that. So about February this year, I had called some old friends of mine and ended up getting some lead on some machinery. So I've been out traveling the country and getting machines out of barns and bringing them back here and putting them back into service and tooling them up and producing parts.
How hard is that, getting all that stuff back there?
Not as hard as it used to be now with the internet. It's a little bit easier to arrange transport and it makes it easier in that regard, but it's still hard in the sense that a lot of these guys that own them, they're in their 80s and it's kind of hard to get a hold of them and hard to communicate. And, you still got to do it the old school way. You still have to go out there and just meet the guy face to face, pay cash, figure out how to get it out of there, get it on a truck. This one behind me, the company that was going to help me pull this out, they quit when they saw how big it was. So I had to find somebody local and they came out there with the skid steer, we pulled it out. And I ended up spending the night next to it in Kansas in the middle of nowhere until I was able to get a truck the next day. So it's just stuff like that. You just never know what you're going to run into.
Yeah. Do you find that because you're buying older equipment, I think the positive there is that can be fixed. It's cheaper than a brand new computerized system. But do you end up having to have the knowledge base to work on your own equipment, find parts for it, and then most importantly, find guys that can work with that older equipment?
Yeah. So when I was in my 20s, I had an instinct that told me that you need to learn as much about this stuff as possible before these guys are gone. So I spent my 20s trying to meet all the craftsmen I could and trying to get all the knowledge I could about this stuff because I knew that someday soon they'd be gone. And once that information's gone, it's gone with them. So yeah, but I don't buy equipment. I don't buy old equipment because it's old. I buy it because it's still the best tool for the job, even to this day. That's why I buy it. It makes no difference to me how old or new something is. I'm just looking for the best machine for the job. That's what I'm after.
Yeah, I mean, in my mind, I'm always thinking Bridgeport. Is that still the name that you're looking for in your mill, in your lathe? Is there a hammer that you just, want and you desire to have? And then is there a point where you eventually say, okay, I have as enough machinery as I can possibly handle with the staff that I have and the real estate that I have? I'm not going to chase it anymore. I just need to get my ass in there and make product. That balance.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, we're kind of there now as far as all the older stuff that I wanted. Now I'm onto the other phase to where I'm trying to get familiar and learn all the new stuff that's out there, like the laser welding, the 3D printing, the scanning, all the new stuff that's available. And I think if you get the best of the old and the best of the new and you mix them together, I think you'd have something extremely beautiful.
Staff, how do you find the younger kids? Are they working on the older stuff, or do you primarily hire older guys, or how many do you have helping you out?
I've got two here now, and the one good one, he's just a truck enthusiast.
Well,
Well, I've gone through a handful of them.
The one good one. What about the other guy?
No, well, he's a part timer, so
Oh,
he's
okay,
he's
okay.
he's really
The
good.
full-time guy is the good one, and the part-timer, he's working on becoming a good one. Hopefully he doesn't listen.
Well, I didn't mean it like that. No, he's actually excellent.
Okay,
But,
okay.
but my really good employee, he's a truck enthusiast like I am, and oftentimes what they do is they just end up telling somebody else, and they come along, and it's really got to be for something like this, it's got to be somebody that's enthusiastic and knows these trucks and just wants to be here, because it's not for everybody.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard. I can imagine finding young guys that are talented, and kind of goes back to what you said, at the very beginning is as an immigrant, I wonder about, or someone who came from another country, and like you said, if that puts you at a disadvantage based upon struggle and patience, and like, man, I got to keep employees. I want to keep them, but it's tough because it's tough. It's just tough.
Yeah, I've had to shit can a few welders, and it's just like we joke around the shop because like one of them would like last summer would come in just like asking for water, and I would just like whisper in his ear, "We don't have any water." Yeah, it's like, dude, bring your own water from home, bro. So now when it's hot outside, I'm just like, hey, does anybody have any water I can have? Can I have some of your water?
What other challenges do you guys face? Like when you look at your 5-year plan, you talked about the equipment and that evolution of the 3D, the new laser welding, and obviously there's a lot of money there, and that balance, and then just keeping the lights on, keeping those guys hustling, and the marketing of everything, that business struggle.
Yeah, that's probably I would say that's probably the biggest challenge is just, being visible in such a busy world on the internet, I mean, there's so many guys doing this. I'm not the only one doing fab work, So you really have to be unique and stand out. And then the other biggest challenge is everybody's so accustomed to an Insta world. Everybody wants everything, So it's like it's not just making a product, but it's also delivering it to the customer and doing it in a timely fashion. And sometimes stuff arrives damaged, and they think you damaged it, and it's like, no, so the logistics is harder than making the parts, in my opinion.
Yeah. Do you have a shipping manager, or is his name Andy?
His name's Andy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just constantly looking for value on packaging, making sure that the parts are handled well, getting them out the door, and I'm sure shipping is expensive.
Oh, it's expensive, yeah. And we got a gal that works here a couple days a week. Her name's Bree. She does a lot of the packing. I'm teaching her how to like pack everything and stuff. We've got some machines now to help out with that, and we set up a fulfillment center like I don't know last month to just kind of keep all the product there and have everything packed and ready to go. So it's kind of like a warehouse for that type of stuff because we ran out of room at this shop. So it's getting better, and it's tough because you're handling everything in house when you're direct to consumer. My life would be easier if I was dealing with dealers again, and I just sent them a batch of like 50 parts and said, here, have your fun with it, put it in your own box and ship it. But it just doesn't work like that anymore. The market has evolved.
Well, they take so much money, right? They take so much of the cut, and I'm sure that, I mean, I see that all the time. I see people I know who used to be wholesalers are now in the retail business.
Yeah. That's the way the market's moving, man. And if you don't move with it, you're gonna get left behind.
What's your hardest part that you make when you're like, I got to make 5 of these?
Some of the wheel tubs that we're doing now are still some of the hardest because there's just a lot of skill required with like the way we're doing them, welding them and hammering them and stuff like that is, it's really hard to teach somebody that, and it's just, you have to be extremely careful. You've got to pay attention. It's dangerous, so there's a lot involved with that. That was like one of the hardest things when I started, and it still is today.
Do you find the a little bit of a struggle there where you want to be behind a machine more and you're doing more of the owner stuff, the fulfillment, the marketing, the paperwork, the payroll, all that stuff? And how do you balance that as an owner of a very small business? Hey guys, are you thinking about swapping out your old motor for a more reliable LSLT based power plant? Behind each PSI harness, you get over 10 years of experience in the business, online tech support, phone support, and harnesses made in the U.S. That's psiconversion.com. Hey guys, whether you're coming or going, UP Car Parts has you covered, or in this case, has you bumpered. They offer high quality premium heavy stamp steel as original in either chrome or black paintable for the C10 Nation. They have all generations covered and ready to ship today. So when you think bumpers, think UP Car Parts. upcarparts.com. You've heard me talk about my gauges, Dakota Digital. I love them. Dakota Digital has the best gauges for our trucks. These kits are complete with sensors for any engine. They look just like the stock clusters, but have all the technology you'd expect from Dakota Digital. It's like a modern truck, but even better in a classic. Dakota Digital is absolutely the best in aftermarket gauges, so check them out at dakotadigital.com. dakotadigital.com. You want to be behind a machine more, and you're doing more of the owner stuff, the fulfillment, the marketing, the paperwork, the payroll, all that stuff. And how do you balance that as an owner of a very small business?
I wish I knew how to balance it. That's the hard. Yeah, you hit the nail right on the head, man. I want to be out in the shop behind these machines. If I could run that hammer all day, I would, but I still have to run the company at the end of the day.
Yeah, it ends up being the old, I'll work 80 hours a week for me so I don't have to work 40 for you, right? Because you still got to be behind the machine. You got to be running the hammer. You got to make the phone calls. You got to get the material there. And yeah, so, and then it seems like it's always easier that you can just find a person to do that job, but then you're just going through people a lot, or it's hard, it seems to be kind of hard to find those people. So do you ever have anybody who came to work for you that ended up going away and trying to start their own thing, and then maybe they come back or they are successful, and then do you support them? Do you just, how does that work?
I've never had that happen to me. I've never had it happen, but I mean, if they did, I'm not sure I'd really care. I've had kind of an epiphany this year to where I've quit looking at what other people are doing altogether, because I used to do that back in the day and it would drive me crazy. And I sat and I thought back on all the hard times and all the things I went through and all of that, and it's like, man, if somebody's willing to go through that, then maybe they deserve it, But yeah, how do you?
It's like, am I going to waste energy on looking at that, or am I going to take that same energy and just keep driving?
Well, that's exactly right. I spend so much time thinking about it, and like before I look up and it's like it's my own ship that's spiraling out of control. So it's like, forget all that, forget what they're doing. Question is, what am I doing? What are we going to do?
Good for you, to have that. You'll sleep better at night, right? And you can just, it's like, hey, I can't control that. I can only control me.
Yeah, you sleep much better. So for any other fabricators out there, if you're listening, I don't care what you're doing.
How about somebody that you look up to that's another fabricator, somebody that might be considered a competitor, but you look up to them, and then do you even connect with some of those guys?
Yeah, I mean, look, there's a guy here next to me. He's, I don't know, in his 70s, great metal spinner. I consider him one of the best in the world. I have anybody that I consider that is better than me and I look up to. I just have a tremendous amount of respect for them and stuff like that. So I don't necessarily feel threatened by stuff like that,
Yeah, well, I think what you said is they've went through what they've went through, or maybe they're going to go through what they're going to go through, and you've been there, and it's not easy, and through trials and tribulations, you're sitting here now, you're doing good. You're kicking ass. I mean, really, 2 years ago, your birthday in July 23, you popped on social, and next thing you know, you're whipping out a shit ton of products. One of the things I like to ask the smaller companies, how many scan codes do you have? When we talk about products, I mean, 100 products. I mean, when you think about every door filler, every gas filler, every firewall, every panel, I mean, I feel like you've got to have way over 100.
Yeah, and there's like different variations of products. So somewhere in there. But like I was saying earlier, we're also like just getting started too, or at least to me it feels like we're just getting started. There's so much more stuff I want to do that to me it feels like we haven't really even begun yet.
What's a couple? Give me three things that you might have played with but hasn't went to production yet, and you really are looking forward to creating.
So I was watching, here's a good one. I was watching this thing last night to where back in the day, they used to have professional draftsmen that would when you cast parts, they would draft these parts. They would make the molds for the parts to be cast, and then they would make them out of wax. They would pour the molten metal over the wax, melt the wax, and you'd end up with a finished cast part. But now these kids are, those guys are dead and gone. So now these kids are doing it with PLA on 3D printing. So instead of the wax melting, it's just melting the plastic. So I thought for like cool, intricate parts, that'd be something really cool to explore, maybe doing some casting, but I'm nowhere near close to that at the moment.
Is that the plastic filament?
Yep. Yeah, for 3D printing.
Okay, yeah, my son does a ton of 3D printing. I just wasn't sure if that was it. And for the audience, PLA is it comes in like a little wire wheel, and they just sit there and hook it up. And my son's got a couple of them, and they run all damn night long. Just pretty amazing shit.
Yeah, and here's something. I'm not sure if you could see it all the way back there, but that's a plastic forming machine that I bought on a whim about 5 months ago. So that's something that I saw a video of that, and I was really curious about it. And I started experimenting with interior stuff because my neighbor got me linked up with an interior guy, and that kind of opened up my mind a whole new range of possibilities. And I realized that making interior panels out of metal is just not a good idea, because it's all fun and games. That metal door panel is cool till it's 120 outside and you touch it. Or you're driving down the road, it rattles, something like that. I'm like, so, there's a reason they don't make car interiors out of metal. I get it now. Just because you can make it out of metal doesn't mean you should. So I thought, well, we're already metal fabricators. Why not be plastic fabricators while we're at it too? So I bought a plastic forming machine, and I'm messing around with that just to see what I can do with it.
It's a no-brainer, right? I mean, can you imagine having that ability to make just amazing? I mean, I think the biggest thing would be the level of strength, right? So when you get that stronger plastic, is it Delron? Is that like a Del? I mean, that's come to mind. So I think that's the stronger product that you can make that with. And I mean, you look at the plastics that we deal with, that, I mean, you could have a car that's an OBS, for example. Some dashes are gone, some are still around. Obviously the UV kicks its ass, but for the most part, 40 years old and they're still going strong.
Yeah. Cars are a combination of many elements. You have metals, you got plastic, glass, paint, rubber. That's why, when a country produces a car, it's looked upon as a strong country, because you have all the elements in your country. See, only a rich, prosperous country can afford to build its own car.
Well, unless you get everything from other countries like we do. Granted, we started here, and you get petroleum and you can get everything else. I don't know. I'm sure we have almost everything, but I think in the States they get a lot of stuff from all over. But that's just the world we live in now.
Yeah, but if we had to do it, we've got everything here,
Yeah, for sure. Well, take us out on just like, for the audience, why should they check out Classic Truck Products? Why, website, what's, just sell me on selling you, because I met you in person at SEMA. I appreciate that. We've chatted multiple times, social media wise, and I think you're kicking ass. And I just love having guys like you on, because without guys like you we wouldn't have what we have. And we're spoiled in our classic truck world because guys are making kick-ass products.
Yeah. Well, I'm not alone. There's also a lot of other guys out there making really good products.
For sure.
And hats off to them. But the idea behind Classic Truck Products is I didn't want to deal with any dealers anymore. So we're a direct to consumer brand. We don't have any dealers. We have no markups. We have no middlemen. All that layer of complexity is all gone. So you deal with us directly. We make the products here. We ship it directly to you, and we give you the best product we possibly can for your money. And that's the entire idea behind this business. So everything you buy from us is the best we can possibly make it for the money.
Yeah, what else can they ask for, right? I mean, high quality products made by C10 truck enthusiasts, made in America, and direct to consumer. So about what kind of ETA do you look at when you think about your turnaround? You have a fulfillment center. Is it one of those things where, hey, if I've got it in stock, it's going to ship within 2 days and you should have it within 5?
Exactly. Yeah. So if it goes from here to the furthest point in the country, which would be probably like New York or Maine or Florida, it's usually about a 5-day turnaround. And right now we're trying to do everything within 24 hours. Now, sometimes that gets stretched out to 48, depending on how many orders there are. But usually within 24 hours, we try to get that order out from the time it's placed. There's been a little bit of friction now with the Christmas orders and all that, so we're running a little bit behind. But when all the systems are working like they're supposed to, within 24 hours, you get a tracking number emailed to you, and it gets delivered straight to your doorstep. And there's insurance on everything, so if it arrives damaged, we cover it. We just send you another one.
Cool. How about
just no returns?
No returns.
No returns. If you buy it, you own it. I'm not playing hot potato with car parts across the country. No returns.
Yeah, you buy it, you own it, and you find somebody else to buy it. And if it didn't work out, put it on Facebook Marketplace and get somebody else to buy it. Okay, so that 73 to 80, we've talked about it, that core support. I know, it's a challenge because of the step, the radiator, there's obviously we have, there's 4 different radio from a big block 4 core to a small block to when are we going to see that? What's happening with that?
I'll tell you exactly what's going on with that. So I noticed about, 5-6 months ago that we're getting a little bit scattered and we're trying to cover too many platforms at once.
Okay, good topic. I like this. Let's dive in.
So I told myself, you know what? I like to study war history in my spare time. So I said,
which I don't think is much.
Well, yeah, but I said, every nation that's ever fought multiple wars at once, they lost. Every single one of them. I said what's concentrated burns, and you've got to concentrate your forces where they need to be concentrated. I said, why would I do square body parts when I haven't even got the 67 to 72 down pat yet? So I said, instead of doing something for the square bodies and doing that half-ass just to come back to this platform and do this half-ass, why don't we just take 2026, we put all our eggs in the 67 to 72 basket, we check everything off our list, we do a really good job with that, and then we take that and we roll it into the square bodies. That way, once we get there, we can give it our full attention and we do a good job and we come up with some really good products and we could really focus on it and not just do what's been done before, do something half-assed,
Wow, I love it. So 67 to 72 guys, you are top tier, and we know that there's a shit ton of them out there. We know that I can only imagine that those parts are flying off the shelves. I think I'm pretty sure I know that the 81 to 87 guys, you did make a core support for them cover. So you're going to wait. You're going to come back to it. What would be new for the 67 to 72 guys? If you're going to really dive in 26, what's something that you're going to add to your catalog or hope to?
Wheel tubs for sure. I've got another set of firewall panels I want to do. The interior stuff is something I'm really buying, and that's new territory for me. So we're looking at stuff beyond metals, plastics, materials, fabrics, things like that. My friend Rich Santana that I've got involved with is making a new cup holder for that, which is it's like a swing out billet cup holder that looks like a stock ashtray, but when you press it, two cup holders come sliding out. So that's really cool. And yeah, I've got some exterior parts, but where I want to end up, my end game with that, and I'm going to give away the playbook here. My end game with that is I'd like to build complete bodies, but do them with our sheet metal. That way, when you buy a body, you don't need to take it to anybody else to do your firewalls, wheel tubs, all of that. It's already done. Brand new sheet metal. You just buy a complete body, build your car.
So you'll get aftermarket cabs that come in, because I assume there's no way in hell you're going to do the whole thing, and then you're going to put the CTP spin on it. You're gonna change out the firewall. The fenders will be part of the inners, will be part of the fenders, so on and so forth. Correct. So you're gonna take in sheet metal that somebody else has, right? Because that stuff all comes overseas, right? Taiwan.
Yeah.
So you're gonna.
Yeah, so it's like parts. A lot of that stuff, so it's like parts to make a cab, but we modify them with our parts. Like, we don't want to make stuff like roof skins, but we don't necessarily want to buy their firewall either. Like, we can make that. There's just certain parts of the cab that we can make here. So we only need like certain parts of it,
I think the hard part there is like the firewall, it kind of just comes, you're cutting it out. It's got to be kind of for shipment and strength. So a lot of that, I get the process though, where guys are going to give you three different options. Do you want your fuel door shaved? Do you want your firewall shaved? Do you want, another option? Do you want the doors shaved? So yeah, putting that classic truck products cab together and offering that would be, that'd be pretty badass. And just one more SKU in the code there for you to add to it and give the customer the options where we're so spoiled because we can. The Dodge guys, the Ford guys, they love us, they hate us. The comment that I get all the time is, you sons of bitches can build a whole truck literally out of a catalog.
They hate us because they ain't us. That's why.
Right. They do. I'm sorry, guys, but with Andy's help, we can build a truck out of various different catalogs. So I'll take you out with this. What if I gave you, I'm going to give you two questions. This is a two-part. If I gave you $100,000 and you're going to put it towards your business, what are you doing with that money?
With $100,000.
Yeah.
Man, I can't think of something off the top of my head, but it would be something where I could compound it over time and have it give a respectable return. I don't know what that is quite yet because I'd have to see the deal in front of me, but I would find something where I could put it to work and have it give a respectable return over a long enough time period.
Well, would you invest it in yourself, meaning the shop, you would expand equipment, personnel, marketing, website, something like that? Or where would you say, yeah, this is where I need the money to go? Because I think the hard part to me tossing that out to you is I love that you're looking at like, hey, I want it to make money. I want it to win. But sometimes you're like, well, we could be better at marketing. We could be better at this. Or, hey, I want to start the CTP cab project and I want to buy 4 cabs from a sheet metal company and I want to start that process.
Me personally, I always put it in machinery first because one of the rules I like to follow with investing is I like to have a hard, tangible product that number one, I can buy it, I can see it, I can feel it, I can hold it. I'd like for it to produce, and by the time it's done producing, I can sell it again for the same amount of money that I bought it, if not more, and it's produced me a considerable amount of income along the way. So those are the 3 things I look for when I put my money to work. 3 things I need in a deal.
A buddy of mine, his dad was a successful contractor, and he always owned his equipment. And when 08 hit, a lot of guys lost a lot of money. and he was one of the only games in town because he owned every piece of equipment that he had. And he didn't have the best equipment, the fanciest equipment, but he owned his equipment. So he was able to keep everything, and the doors open because he owned all that.
Yeah. Yeah. Banks telling me no was like the best thing that could ever happen to me.
Yeah. It can be scary because, they want to give you that money, and then you get into trouble. Okay, the second part of that question is, I'm going to give you another $100,000, and I want you to build a truck. What would you build? And why?
What would I build and why? I would build something that's like a test bed for products that I can sell, because you're probably not going to get your money back out of the truck, but at least you can sell a bunch of products and get your money back that way. And then if you're going to do that, you may as well build something to remember. So I'd probably just build the truck I'm building now, honestly, which I haven't shown too much of, but maybe this might be a good time to tell people about it. I'm building a 72 C10 that I'm developing a chassis for. We're building a chassis that is basically, we want to be bolt-on GM Corvette suspension. So everything out of a Corvette, suspension, motor, everything. We want a frame where you could just take everything from a C5, C6 Corvette, bolt it on, and put your cab on, and you've got yourself technically a mid-engine C.
And they just get a donor. I feel like we talked about this just a little bit at SEMA. So they have to get a C5, a C6 donor, and then they're going to take your chassis main body and then bring that together for a rolling chassis, which is kind of instead of a C5 or a C6, it's a C10 5, C10 6.
We call it a C15, yeah. And I'm toying around with the idea of like incorporating the floor into it, because a lot of these trucks, the floorboards are already rotted out. So if you just make some cool floor pans with the dash and everything already built into it, then, you could buy like a really patinaed out truck that's, rusted, in other words. But who cares? You don't need all of it. You just need the shell to put on this. And then you've got yourself a mid-engine C10 at that point.
Yeah, I mean, I could see where you're pushing it back. You've got your firewall, and then, like you said, some of the rockers and that potential of the rust. But again, another option is they can buy the whole cab from you too. But I like the patina perspective. Is like, hey, if a guy's got the skill set, you can buy this and then take your other cab. I mean, those are down the road, right? So you're going to evolve and you're going to figure those things out. So tell us a little bit more about the 72. Where are you at with that right now? Powertrain and what you're building with that truck and the products that are on it.
Well, if you go through my Instagram and you go back long enough, you'll see it's just a patinaed 72, all original patina. And it's just kind of been the R&D truck for us. So I've taken it apart and I just use it to test fit parts and stuff like that on. So I thought, it'd be a cool truck to build, to have something to like take to shows. And it just got way out of hand, like really fast, and it was supposed to just be a simple motor swap. And next thing you know, it was like, we wanted to build a frame. And then, it's like, there's a lot of frame companies out there and I have a lot of respect for them and stuff like that. So I didn't really want to do what other people are doing. So I'm like, why don't we try something with this Corvette stuff? And then that kind of evolved. And so I'm like, okay, well, let's try this formula here to where nobody's really doing the Corvette stuff. So I'm like, let's just see where this goes. And then something I really want to do on that is I kind of want to go back to my roots to where I started and do some different materials. And one thing I noticed is the rust, green and rust just go really good together, like green and copper. And as it's starting to rust, it kind of looks like copper. So I thought, maybe a copper engine bay would be something really cool and fresh to bring to the game. And I think that'd go really good with the leather work I'm getting into and all that stuff. So where it's going to go, I don't know, but it's here and it's just kind of evolving as I'm evolving,
So you talked a little bit about like taking a truck to a show. Do you have some shows that you'd like to go out to in 26, market and set up and sell?
Yeah, so we went to the C10 slowdown. That I really like that one, so we'll do that one again. We went to the one not too far from us in Woodland, the C10 intervention. That was a good one. And then went as a spectator to Dino's this year, and I really liked that one. So if I could go to that one next year, I would be in. So those are the three main ones I'd like to go to.
Perfect. Yeah, I mean, obviously, relative to where you're at in Cali, getting out, supporting the scene, and you know, somebody might stumble across your booth and talking to you and say, "Hey, man, I like the guy, I like the products, and I want to buy from him." So it's just that balance. So much time and money and getting out to these shows. It's people don't realize it can be expensive to get out. You know, take product out. So kudos to you for thinking ahead on that.
Yeah, initially it started off with like products, but after like the first two, I don't even care about that so much anymore. I just like meeting the people, you know. Shout out to Lupe from the C10 intervention. I forget the name of the club, but when I went to the one in Woodland, I didn't sleep that night at all. And I got there at like 4:30 in the morning. And at 5, I was starving. Like, I was like, man, I really need something to eat. Like, I'm about to faint. And I think about like, I don't know, 6 a.m., 7, there was some people cooking tacos across the street. And a lady named Lupe and her husband came over by the booth with like tacos and all sorts of food all day long, man. So I don't know. You just can't meet better people than the C10 crowd. I don't know what it is, but, you know, it's like, maybe we'll sell some parts, maybe we won't. Who cares? Just hanging out with these people's cool. So shout out to Lupe for bringing those tacos over. I was really hungry that morning.
Yeah, nice work, Lupe. I feel like that's the compadres to me when I go up to the intervention. They always take really good care of me and the scene and the people. We go to Slowdown. It's my homies at the 805. Those guys are awesome. They hook us up. The spread, Annie and his crew, just great people. Yeah, there's a saying, the trucks are cool, but the people are cooler. It really rings true because we're lucky to have such great people. And it sounds like they've welcomed you with open arms too, Andy. So that's it, brother. I appreciate you sitting down. It was good to meet you and shake your hand at SEMA. Thanks for coming by the booth. Thanks for checking out the Blazer. However we can support you, we definitely will. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays to you and the fam bam. And yeah, I didn't even get into that. Is there a fam bam? Do you got wife, kids, boyfriend, girlfriend? What do you got?
I have many wives.
Nice, nice.
I'm just playing.
Now, each machine's got a name.
Yeah, that's right. No, I've got a gal I'm seeing on a regular basis, and that keeps me pretty grounded because I'd be getting myself in trouble. I've already had my fun with that early on in life in the military. I've ran amok for like a really early part of my life. So I kind of got that out of my system early on. And I don't really get much enjoyment out of that anymore. I get more enjoyment out of making parts and seeing things come to fruition. So with the plan for 2026 and honing in on those trucks, something else I did was I moved into a small apartment close to the shop so I could be closer here. I don't have like a big house to take care of, and I'm literally going all in on 2026. I mean, all in. I've even downsized and everything.
All right, all in. He's all in. You heard it here. C10 Talk. Thank you, Andy. Classic Truck Products. You guys check him out on Insta. I think the website has some underscores, correct?
It does. It's Classic Truck dash products, but you can also go to just classictruckproducts.com. We own both of those domains.
They'll be there. The fastest way is social media. Get the links there. Check them out. Andy, I appreciate your time. Happy holidays, bro.
Hey, Merry Christmas, Ronnie. I appreciate it, man.
What do you think? Hit him up. ClassicTruckProducts.com. Hit up Andy and use that 10% off. C10 Talk, you have till the end of January. Appreciate you tuning in. Looking forward to 2026. The reunion, again, if you're thinking about coming out, registration is going to be on 1/1/2026 at 1 p.m. Arizona time. And get your hotels booked right now because it's live. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas. Have a great weekend. Peace.